I'm making a video to give tips to those who might like less bitter coffee for fairly low cost. Um, First disclaimer is if you're happy with the way your coffee is for cheaper than this, certainly continue. But if you like black coffee, especially, and you have a little trouble with sourness or bitterness, this is a fairly low cost way to get pretty good results. Um, my latest finding after lots of advanced things, including roasting my own coffee at home, which is wonderful, but a lot of work and fairly expensive. Um, Hario v60 pour over. And the Hario pour over, which you can get something similar to this at a local grocery store. The Hario, and some of these have a much larger hole at the bottom. Hario has raised ribs that help the coffee to not plug up and flow properly. And the beauty of a Chemex filter. The Chemex filters remove some of the sour and bitter flavors from coffee. And the proper ratio. A little more coffee than this. If you can use a scale in grams, a good starting point is 1,000 grams of water, which is about a liter, I think. 1,000 grams of water and about 55 grams of ground coffee in the filter. You want your water at about 205 degrees Fahrenheit so you can boil it and let it come just off of boil. And whether you use a kettle on the stove top or whatever, your numbers are pretty close. I use a thermometer to check the water, but you don't really need to get that fancy if you don't care to. Just in the effort to try to keep this fairly simple and low tech. Of course, electric kettles heat the water quite quickly. Use like the tare setting on a scale, zero it out, put about 55 grams of coffee. If you're doing about 1,000 grams of water, about a liter. And the first part of you pour, you want to wet the coffee for a few seconds. And there's much more advanced videos that talk about the technical terms, but I'm trying to keep this fairly simple at the moment. And when you're pouring the hot water over the coffee, you want the pour over process to last about 2.5 to 3 minutes roughly. If you let it go longer, it starts extracting maybe undesirable flavors. But Hario V60 large pour over vessel, and don't underestimate the beauty of a Chemex filter. Comes square, folds kind of goofy, but it does very nice things for the flavor of especially a black cup of coffee. And your favorite pre-ground coffee can simply go in there. I've done some pretty high-end coffees, and yes, they're wonderful. A nice step up is to do whole bean coffee and grind it fresh right before you use it. But then you need a decent grinder. That's pretty much can't get a decent grinder for much less than about $130 these days. This is simple Starbucks Pike's Place pre-ground, because my coffee grinder broke yesterday. I got a new one coming in, plus repair parts. 2.5 to 3 minute pour over Chemex filter, Hario V60. Use any kind of vessel. This idea is I keep it for a while. The paper towel and the cap is to keep oxygen out so it doesn't oxidize too quickly. And if you do something like this, I would expect you'll be impressed with the taste. If you're the type of person that puts lots and lots of sugar, lots and lots of cream, in my opinion, don't bother. Stay with what you're doing now. Anyway, hope this helps those who might be in the search for better tasting coffee without spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars